And it's time now for a new episode of Field Forward, powered by Pioneer. Joining us now, Tanner Hento, fifth generation farmer from South Dakota. Tanner, welcome to Field Forward. It's good to talk with you. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really good. Just about done with harvest. Sitting in line as we speak, ready for the elevators to open. So, been a great year, and yeah, happy to be here.
Real quick, how has harvest season, as you kind of get into the finish line here, how have things gone for you this year?
Sure, phenomenal. Probably a once in 100 year crop, honestly. I always joke farmers usually find something to complain about, regardless. Pretty hard to find that this year, though. Exceptional would be an understatement.
Well, good to hear. Good to hear. It's been a great season. Well, let's talk a little bit about why you plant Pioneer brand corn. Maybe can you share an example of how the products from Pioneer have delivered for you this growing season?
Yeah, for sure. Exceptionally well. We had a lot of like southern rust, northern corn, leaf blight come into play. We've been scouting our fields throughout the year. And the one great thing Pioneer products do is they give you rankings for fungicide responses. But we really knew where our money was going to be well spent with that. The products stood up well, but they responded exceptionally well to all the fungicides we did. Um, yeah, there are very few products even remotely complain about. 14830 can't go without complimenting that one, to say the least. So yields have been through the rough, soybeans, corn alike.
You mentioned some of the challenges. Let's dive a little bit deeper there. Weather, disease, pest pressures, et cetera, et cetera. What were
Mhm.
more of those challenges you faced this season, and how did your Pioneer corn handle them? Talk about that a little more for us.
Sure. I think the remarkable thing, we're in southeastern South Dakota, and we had about 10 inches of rain total in the first 2 weeks of May. We have a significant amount of drain tile, and even with that, there was numerous acres that were flooded. Considering that at one point there were probably 40 acres underwater, we ended up only losing about half of that. So our real problem this year was too much rain, but the resilience of the corn, especially to withstand all that heavy water lodging, was really impressive. So our only, yeah, real disaster was too much rain, which is pretty rare for the western corn belt.
Yeah, that's kind of what I heard from a lot of folks as well. I mean, you had things like southern rust, northern corn leaf blight out there.
Yeah,
You get the spattering of tar spot, things like that. But
for
it,
sure.
it just depended on your area and your geography. It seemed as to what disease, pest pressure, et cetera, you had in your fields potentially, Tanner.
Definitely. We have quite a few agronomists, both independent as well as linked with Pioneer, that scout our fields throughout the year. With all these southern winds increasing throughout the year, we're really seeing diseases that never even made their way into South Dakota becoming more and more prevalent. So it's kind of a new to the game thing. And if you're on top of it, it goes well. But it's just a testament to how, I really view agronomists as just as necessary as seed almost. If I had to wake up without scouting a field or having that expertise in my back pocket, especially the pioneer team, I can't fathom we would be where we're at currently without that.
What's one thing you would tell other growers who are considering planting Pioneer brand corn for their
Mhm.
fields next season, 2026? I mean, what would you tell them, kind of that testimonial, so to speak, about why they should really consider it for next season?
Sure. You're going to find companies that have good genetics. Pioneer isn't the only one. We're not going to mention any competition here, but they're out there, and the genetics are phenomenal for Pioneer. There's no doubt about that. Genuinely, what gets me to come back time and time again is the support system. We have our own test plots, we have our own impact plots, and it starts at that dealer service level. Service level. I can't go without shouting out the guys that make it different. Um, my dad was always the type that had kind of folksy sayings, throughout the years, and liked to give me bits of advice. And whenever something good was happening, he would always say, "One raindrop doesn't make a flood." And what he'd mean by that is, when you have something successful happen, there's a lot of little raindrops that got you to that point. And our yields are amazing, but it genuinely starts with our dealer, Jesse and Tom Ronick out of Tyndall, South Dakota. I can't say enough good about them. If we need seed at 2 a.m., which happens more than I'd like to admit, they're out there. Our local agronomist, John Olson with Pioneer, amazing, really good at any time we have a question. Then we have Kyle Christensen that works with our impact plot, amazing. Uh, I wouldn't be a farmer without complaining about prices every now and then. So Troy Boomsma as my regional guy, when I'm upset about the price of a bag of corn is always ready to talk. So that whole group ties together so well with picking varieties and all that. So if anybody considering Pioneer, as good as the genetics are, that's not what I would use as a selling point. I would say look at the team you're getting access to and knowing that they're going to have your back at any hour, any minute of the day. I think that's what truly stands alone compared to the competition.
Well, I think to go along with that, Pioneer is celebrating its 100-year anniversary in 2026. And you talk about that support system and more. When you hear that Pioneer is celebrating 100 years next year, I mean, what does that mean to you as a farmer, Tanner?
Sure. I don't think you make it 100 years without showing a lot of resiliency. They made it through, a world war, economic depressions, dot-com bubbles. Technology has changed so much in that time. I was just reading, when Pioneer kind of got started, we were talking like 30 bushels an acre of corn, and then it improved to like, I think that was during Pearl Harbor actually. And then after that, then they started getting up to 100. And nowadays, I mean, the yields are phenomenal. Um, I think any company that shows that amount of longevity is something that you can trust. Farming is not a fly by night operation. And if you have a company that has only been around for 5, 10 years, hard to build that trust factor. So hearing 100, as much as that is an amazing feat, what it really makes me feel good about is knowing that they're going to be there tomorrow and they're going to be there next year, as are we.
Great thoughts and perspective. And I know if folks want to learn more, reach out to their local Pioneer representative as they're thinking about decisions for next year. Pioneer.com is a great place to get started. With that, Tanner Hento from South Dakota, thanks for joining us here on this episode of Field Forward brought to you by Pioneer. Have a great one. We'll look forward to talking again in the future.